Anthony Melchiori, I'm feeling great because we help people find jobs just yesterday.
Glenn Hausman with 2 S's.
Wow, this is going to be a great show. Your energy is out of control.
I'm Anthony. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. That's my friend Glenn.
You're watching the #1 show in hospitality. Hey, everybody. Welcome to No Vacancy Live. I, of course, am Glenn Hausman with the one and only, the incredible, the amazing Anthony Melchiori. Anthony, so great to see you today, my friend.
What's up, brother? How are you?
I am doing good today. All right, I'm actually Mr. Krabby McCrab today, but you know what? Part of doing this show every day is to not let anybody know how you're actually feeling, because we don't want to peel back the veneer too far and give people a real insight into who we are as actual human beings.
It was great yesterday. Talk about natural human beings. Naturally, we were human yesterday, and we actually helped people get jobs yesterday. So David, our producer, put together a bunch of contacts from yesterday. I'm actually getting text messages of people saying they enjoyed the job fair yesterday, how they get in touch with people. So this is how you get in touch with people. So yesterday we had great people from Chesapeake, Crestline, DeWetto, Cornerstone, and the list goes on. So we'll have it on all of our social media plays. And also we have it here so you can take a snapshot of it. And they've guaranteed that they will take your emails, they will take your resume, and they will get back to you. So please take a snapshot of this. And these are the amazing people at these hotels. And these are the top tier people. These are the people you need to know.
Yep. Excellent. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about that. But before we talk a little bit more about that and bring on our incredible guests of today, I said, hey, every once in a while I want a good buy, but sometimes I want a better buy. But really, I'm out to get a Best Buy. And that's where Best Buy Business comes in. They're a leader in hospitality technology solutions for hotels. Be sure to go to bestbuy.com/hospitality to tap into all of their resources. Not only do they sell things like TVs, but they can help you with room sanitizing solutions, patio furniture, IT consulting, all sorts of stuff, either directly through them or through their Geek Squad associates. And they got more than 4,000 of those ready to help you. Go check them out at bestbuy.com.
Did you see patio furniture?
Yeah, they've got patio furniture. Isn't that crazy?
That's amazing. Well, that's good to know. So yesterday after the show, we made a commitment to have another job fair with maybe brands. So that should be exciting.
It should be. And I got to tell you, Anthony, I was so happy to get all of the feedback from yesterday. I got so many emails from people wanting to see how they could rewatch the show, how they could learn more. But more importantly, and I bet you got some of these too, people thanking us for what we did, people explaining how they were out of the job market, but because of the show, they got the confidence to get back in there and try to search for a job again. God bless them. They don't have to leave the hospitality industry. They've been reinvigorated. That's really what we're here for.
Right. And if it tells you anything, it tells you there are jobs out there. But again, the person that wins the prize is the person that works the hardest and that really digs. So if you want to go and you want to find something, there are plenty of opportunities. I think there were over 100 jobs yesterday that we talked about. So really excited about it. But more importantly, or just as importantly, or onto another subject, who's our guest today, my friend?
All right. Today is so great. One of the things that we've been talking about on the show on a regular basis is diversity and helping people find equanimity in the hospitality environment. But one of the places that has most of the trouble is with African-American hotels. And I find that very frustrating. So Dr. Velma Trayham is trying to do something about it. But before we bring her on, I just wanted to let everybody know I am not at the incredible Ivy Hotel in Baltimore, which is right behind me over there. That's owned by an African-American couple. And they're the only Relais and Chateau property in the entire state of Maryland. So congratulations to them for having such a great product. And let's bring on Dr. Velma Trayham. Doctor, so great to see you.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here with you guys today. Thank you, Glenn and Anthony.
Well, I want to get to a point in life where we don't have to say this hotel is owned by an African-American couple. It's I want to get to where it's just normalized and that there's many more African-American owners in the hotel. Like I've said before, I've been in this industry a long time. I've never walked into a meeting where an African-American owner was on the other side of the table trying to ask for my services to help them with a hotel. I've had a lot of different backgrounds, but never. So we're doing our best to try to really bring this to a light.
That's awesome. That is absolutely amazing. And I love how you had that point, made that point. It should not be, a point to mention. So I love that.
So Doctor, why is this an issue that's important to you? You have a successful business. You help, with marketing. You help, create great businesses out there. Why are you so interested in creating what I think is the country's first ever African-American owned investment fund?
Yeah, absolutely. Great point there. So first of all, there is less than 2% of African Americans that has ownership in hotels. All right. That is a very astonishing fact of the matter, especially being that African Americans spend trillions of dollars in travel. And with saying that, a little bit about my background, I am originally from Houston, Texas. Right now, I'm in the beautiful state of Arizona, but I'm from Houston, and I was raised in a very, very humble beginning. And one of the things I realized is that poverty is a state of mind, right? A lot of African Americans are raised in poverty-stricken environments, and with that, it is a cultural norm. Generational poverty.
Right.
Generation after generation, there's poverty. And one of the things that I realized was that I was going to, in order to make a difference, I had to lead by example, and I also had to overcome the odds myself first, to be able to create a vehicle or multiple vehicles to stop this thing called generational poverty, and to help more African Americans think different, and also adapt a different mindset about poverty. A lot of African Americans, they have an excuse. Oh, well, this is how I was raised. This is, with my mom. This is but your beginning does not have to be your end.
No,
I have the same story, and so where I am right now is a result of wanting to change my mindset, a result of wanting to diversify my outcomes. I wanted to see different, and so that was the main reason why I wanted to create a vehicle to help more people, especially African Americans, to change the mindset and this thing called poverty.
So give us a moment where you were set on moving forward and someone got in your way, whether it be an African American, maybe it be a white company. Give us an example where he's like, I'm not having this. This is difficult. This is not right, but I'm moving on, and I'm going to leave this behind me, and I'm going to just move around these people, jump over these people, go through these people. Give us that moment, because we've all had those moments where we've had failures and we've had successes, and we've learned more from the people that are getting in our way to make us fail or trying to help us fail. So give us that moment, or one of those moments.
Yeah, I'll give you a great example. By the way, so I'm the founder of a company called ThinkZilla Consulting Group, and that ThinkZilla is a multicultural brand engagement firm, and we were actually, bidding for a contract in the private space, and we didn't win the contract. So our counterpart actually won the contract, and they actually came back to hire ThinkZilla to actually do the work. And that was really interesting how they were able to win the contract, but Thingzilla had the stronger capabilities to carry out the assignment of the contract. And in that, my team and I, we were very hesitant on if we wanted to accept the contract because we actually bid it and they actually won it. And so as the leader of the company, I said, hey guys, let's go ahead on and take the contract. And I'm glad that we did. We performed very, very well on the contract, and the company reported their outcomes as them actually doing the work, and they wanted us to just really, really stay silent and in the back. And it was pretty devastating, to say the least, that we worked so hard and we had to stay in the back. And we had an opportunity. There was a situation where we met the actual client at a diversity summit, and I had an opportunity to connect with the lead procurement officer there, and she was telling me how they had this contract, and right now they have this company that's doing a really, really amazing job. And it was pretty interesting because we were the company in the background that was doing the work. And so in that, we had an opportunity to talk. And now, to fast forward, we now have all of their African American content development and strategy. And so that's one of the biggest examples that I'll use, because I could have said, you know what, we're not going to take the contract. We're going to, let's not do it. But because we did take the contract, and we were humble, and we worked the contract as though we were the prime vendors for the for the contract, and that allowed us to get multiple other private sector companies to do business with us. So it opened up an opportunity. So what was meant for our bad, it actually turned around for the good.
There's so much in there to unpack, and it's so emotional to hear it. I can't imagine how emotional it was to go through it. And I'm just going to say it. Was it because of the color of your skin they asked you to not be the company in the front?
Yeah, I believe.
So what was it? God? Was it just heavy prayer? Was it family? What stops you or what helps you get through that moment? Because I've had those moments in my career where it had nothing to do with the color of my skin, but just I felt that I couldn't hold back, and I just launched, and I just told people how I felt. Whether that hurt my career or hasn't hurt my career, I'm not really sure. I guess when I'm about to kick it, I'll reflect. But I have a very difficult time holding back. Give the younger generation, give someone that was in your position because of the color of their skin or the person they love or the God that they pray to is being discriminated against. How do they find that strength?
Yeah, so that's a really great question as well. So I like to refer back to this ancient book that was written so long ago, the Bible, and I refer to it as an ancient book because a lot of people look at it as this old Christian, just I look at the Bible as a blueprint, as a blueprint for practical advice. And so there is a scripture that reads, all things are working together for the good of those who are called according to their purpose. And so everything that I do in my business, in my personal life, it is purpose driven. And when you have a purpose, when you are living a life of purpose, it doesn't matter what people say or do to you. You just need to remember that all things are working together for the good. And if you keep an attitude of gratitude, And if you keep a mindset of understanding that sometimes you're going to go through it, right?
Mhm.
And it, because if you don't go through it, you won't be able to grow through anything. And so for me, I look at situations as an opportunity to grow. I look at situations as an opportunity to come out victorious on the other side. And it's very hard. And as an African American woman, a business owner, and leader, I teach this message all the time. It is not the color of your skin. It has nothing to do with that. You are great on the inside. And when you know who you are on the inside, there is absolutely nothing no one can tell you or no one can put on you if you know what you're called to do.
Okay, so I've got to ask you this, Doctor. I think all that makes sense, but you're dealing with folks that you just explained are stuck in this cycle of poverty. And that's not just money, it's mindset, right? Not even understanding that perhaps they could get out of whatever situation there is to even get to a place to think like you're thinking right now, that I think has given you a lot of fuel to find that success within you. So,
and Doctor, before you answer that, I just want to say that was beautiful and thank you. That was very inspirational for me. So thank you. Sorry, Glenn.
Yeah. So how do you inject people with that positivity, with the wherewithal that they too can break out of that cycle? They too can find opportunities, because it's even more complicated. For example, Leon Thomas here says that, Bob Johnson, he's the number one African-American hotel owner in our country, but he's saying that he has very few Black GMs. So how do you give people the tools to move forward psychologically when sometimes they may not even be recognized from members in their own community that have broken out of it?
Yeah, that's a really good question. You guys are awesome with the questions. I see why you guys are where you are.
Okay, listen, we want everybody to be successful and we want to all learn together. And for me, being a Jewish white guy, it's really important to learn what happens in your community.
You know what? And Doctor, thank you for saying that. And one of the things that we're able to do that a lot of people aren't able to do, we don't report to anyone. My career isn't built on working for a vice president or a president. If people want to hire me or people want to shut us off or people want to hire Glenn or not, that's on them. But I'm going to say things and he's going to say things and we're going to move the conversation forward, which is uncomfortable for other people. But what pisses me off coming from Brooklyn, coming from an inclusive culture, that we're still having this effing conversation. Whereas in 1984, 1983, when I was growing up in high school and I went in the Air Force, I came out, I thought this was over. I thought we were all one. And so to see it at the worst time in my lifetime it angers me. And if people shut me off because I say something they don't like I said, when I walk into a room and I see middle-aged white guys, everybody looks like me. It's like, that's great. But that's not what that's not what I know. That's not what I'm about. And so thank you for saying that. And it's our truth and it's what we want to talk about. And if people don't want to listen, you can shut off our channel.
Right. But don't shut off our channel. It's lots of great learning to have, and we'd like to have you watch.
So Doc, if you can answer his question, I'm sorry.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. So in 2017, I moved from Houston, Texas to Atlanta, Georgia. And one of the things I realized was mindset was a huge thing. Mm-hmm. So I started this organization. It's a nonprofit organization called Millionaire Mastermind Academy. Cool. And the mission of the Millionaire Mastermind Academy is to end poverty through entrepreneurship for women worldwide. And through this actual program, we have been able to mentor and consult women of all ethnicities, major mindset transformation, shall I say.
Right.
We've been able to mentor over 5,000 women that went through the program. And through
That's
the
amazing.
program, we have business development, we have a mindset, we have a monthly economic empowerment component. It's 2 hours every third Monday of the month. It's free. And women from all over the world, like I said, have been able to be impacted by this program. In fact, we just had our annual summit on yesterday. And so through this program, we're able to help change the mindsets. Actually, through one of my curriculums, the module 1 is developing a mindset for success. So a lot of organizations, I believe, are missing a major important major component, and that's mindset. Because you can talk about entrepreneurship, you could talk about hotels, you could talk about generational poverty, you could talk about all of this, but in order to break that, you have to focus on mindset first. So we have a lot of different programs through the Millionaire Mastermind Academy that focuses on mindset, and we take them through a 13-week program that helps them to start to change the way they think.
That's really interesting. So how do you give somebody who's grown up with a sense of lack of control, that they don't have control over their own destiny, over those 13 weeks, to give them the powerful mindset that they are valuable human beings who can add to society and make some money at the same time?
Man, I think that's what it comes down to. And Doc, before you answer it, it's lack of control. I think that is what it comes down to. It's once you understand who's in control of the car, then you can drive the car. So I think that those words are perfectly said. Everyone feels, or people that are kind of being pushed around, feel lack of control, and why me, and why can't I get control? So, Doctor, I'm sorry, but I thought those great words, Glenn.
Thank you.
Yeah, good stuff. So here's one of the challenges. People, there's this relatability aspect of things, right? And if you have actually been in a person's shoe before, then you can speak to certain things, right? So because of my journey, people relate to me a lot more because I'm authentic. People will receive it well because they know that I'm coming from a good space. Now, for someone that has never been in the shoes of an African American person, that have been raised in poverty, then how could you actually speak to that? How could you give any advice if you have yet to go through it? And with that, I think that, there's a level of authenticity there. And because I've actually been through it, they receive it well. And here's the thing, you cannot save everybody, So my job here is not to save everybody. My job here is to save those that really, really want to change and that are open to changing the trajectory of their lives through changing their mindset and developing a mindset of success.
And don't we owe it to the previous generation? Like, don't I owe it to my ancestors that came from another country to give me a better life? Don't you owe it to yours who were marching? Like, to me, I feel it's bigger than us. It's about the history, the people that allowed us to be in the situations we're in, so you can move forward. You can have the opportunities that weren't afforded to people in the 50s and 60s and 30s and before that. I talked about this on the show. When I went to the African American Museum in Washington, D.C., and it was only, I think, a year ago, it literally blew my brains out, like changed everything for me, because we're taught Martin Luther King, we're taught the Civil Rights March, we're taught that. We know that's part of our history that we understand, or we try to understand, or it's taught to us. But to go all the way back and to understand the struggle was really something Shocking. My family stayed outside. I needed a couple of hours. I went through it all by myself because it was just so overwhelming. And it was right after Kobe died, and it was just so emotional. And so to me, don't we we owe it to our ancestors to move forward.
Yeah, we do. We owe it to our ancestors. We owe it to people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., Coretta Scott. We owe it to them. And I believe that even right now, what's happening right now, we are actually, history is being made right now. And what we're doing right now, people will be able to learn from, many years later. And so I think I do believe that what we do today is positioning the next generation of leaders for positive outcomes.
Can I tell you a quick story before we answer the next question?
Sure.
I was just going to move us to the next thing, but go for it. Perfect time for a story.
I want to inject.
Everybody, get your slippers on.
Coretta Scott King likes cheeseburgers. You know how I know that?
How do you know that?
Because I was running a hotel called the Lucerne on the Upper West Side, and we did a room service for the first time through this diner. Anyway, it was a really important thing for this hotel. It was a beautiful 4-star hotel, but we didn't have a restaurant at the time, so we used the diner on Amsterdam Avenue. No, on Broadway and like 72nd. We were on Amsterdam 79th. And long story short, all the logistics, it was difficult to overcome. But basically, when you picked up the phone and you hit room service, it got the diner, but you didn't know it was the diner. It said Lucerne room service. The guy runs over with the tray. We with the bags. We retray everything. Put a guy in a black tie and a suit. And the first guest. Now I'm petrified because I'm general manager. It was my crazy idea to do this. So the person goes in. Obviously didn't know who the person on the other side of the door was. I go back later, knock on the door to get the tray and say, "How was everything?" It was Coretta Scott King.
Wow. What an amazing story.
I was just like, how was the cheeseburger? She goes, "It was great. Thank you very much." And that was it. That was my moment with meeting history.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
That is so cool. All right. So I would recommend everybody, because one group we didn't talk about that I think is pretty awesome are the Black Panthers, the original Black Panthers. I highly recommend that everybody goes and looks at that, because what you may think they were, they weren't. That was a lot of propaganda. I think they were a great community that tried to do amazing things for their community as well. So go take a look at that. But Dr. Trayham, I want to learn a little bit more about what you're doing, what opportunities you are out there and setting to create. And Dave, I believe you've got a couple of slides for us to bring up. So let's do that. In the meantime, if you go to novacancynews.com, we'll put the link in the windows as well. You can see all about the U.S. Diversity Group and how you can participate in that. And be sure to go to usdiversitygroup.com for more information. All right, here we go. So tell us a little bit about what we're looking at.
Absolutely. Well, this is a picture of myself and my partners. Tasha Posey is the Chief Operating Officer of U.S. Diversity Group, has an extensive experience in the hospitality industry in real estate. She is a real estate broker as well. Mm-hmm. Jock Posey is our Chief Financial Officer of U.S. Diversity Group. Jock has extensive experience in the financial space. He actually serves as CFO for a couple of Fortune 100 companies. And so this is our team.
So in order to be part of the team, do you have to have a smile that lights up Times Square? Is that like a prerequisite?
Yeah, I'd like to say that. I believe that, the world needs a smile. The world needs, to feel like everything is gonna be okay, and so you just smile through it. So yeah, that's actually a requirement when I interview people. If they're not smiling, I'm like, I don't know about that. So yeah.
Hey, so talk about smiles. All right, go through this and then I ask you this question. I see another slide up here.
Yeah, absolutely. So the U.S. Diversity Group We are building new hotels. We are giving African Americans an opportunity to have ownership in our hotel fund. We're registered Reg D fund, and we have our private placement memorandums. We have franchise agreements through Choice Hotels, and we are mainly looking at land and hotel development sites and opportunity zones.
Cool.
Our first one that we are working on is in Eloy, Arizona. Really?
Do you know, you said Choice Hotels. Do you know a friend of the show, John Lancaster? Producer Dave saying behind the stage that you guys might make a great show together.
Yeah, I am very familiar with Mr. Lancaster. In fact, we were on a call with them a few weeks ago.
Cool. And for those of you who don't know, John Lancaster is heading up their program for emerging markets, not necessarily specifically African Americans, but other communities as well, including groups like veterans to help them find a path to ownership. So it's great because you're dealing with a company that's very serious about your achieving the goals that you've set forth.
And also, Doctor, one of the things I want you maybe to talk about, and just in general, finding financing for hotels is difficult. It is difficult for anyone. I don't care the color of your skin. Now take prejudice and everything else that the African American community goes through, it becomes that much more difficult. So when people are going through it, do you let them know that this is difficult regardless? This is a difficult thing to do, is to get financing for hotels, especially now in this market.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a difficult thing to do. I am one of those optimistic people, and I'm always thinking faith, right? I'll talk just briefly about that. Faith is the substance of the things that you hope for, but it's the evidence of the things that you do not see, right? And I believe that faith can move mountains. And with that, again, I'm very optimistic. And when you set your mind to something, then I figure it out. And to your point, it is very challenging. However, I believe that our mission is it's needed right now,
Right.
and it will get done.
One of the things, we can talk about faith, and we can talk about progress, and we can talk about having a positive attitude and a big smile. But what's really important is those moments where you got to roll up your sleeve, square up on somebody, and say, "Hey, enough's enough," and I'm moving forward. It was great that you were able to pivot, go in the back, do the work, and then eventually get the credit that you guys deserve. But that's difficult. But there are moments where you're like, you know what? No, the line is here, and we're not doing this. Talk through that. Talk about those moments where you got to go back to kind of where you came from, and you've got to use that attitude. Because I know I go to it sometimes, and it's very purposeful. It's not out of anger. I know sometimes it looks like I lost my temper. I never lose my temper. It was purposeful. And 2 seconds later, I'm smiling, and people are like, "Dude, are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, that was fun." It's like there's sometimes where I just have to square up and say, "No, this ain't happening for the good of the team." So talk through those moments where you're not having a smile and you're not on your knees praying, where you're just like squaring up and going, "It stops here."
Great one.
Yeah, that's a good question. So a couple of weeks ago, we actually had someone reach out to us, and they pretty much said, the hotel industry is down right now, blah, 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 this, all this, that, and the other. And, I listened, and after, he was finished, I said, with all due respect, listen.
I love all due respect.
Look,
I'm nervous, and I wasn't even part of it.
Because I did my research, and I saw some of the other things that this investor had worked on, and it was really some really silly things. And wasn't purposeful. And I said, hey, listen, I get it. I understand. I said, but with all due respect, you've invested in this and that. And, and it's not impactful. It's not impactful, not to discredit anyone, but it's not impactful. And what we're doing here we are changing, we're changing the face of hotel ownership. We're helping people out of poverty. We're helping people to understand what generational wealth looks like. We're educating people. So he said, wait a minute, and it was interesting. And, he had several other questions. And one of the questions he asked was, so what makes your deal? Why do you think your deal is? I'm very thankful that you asked. I said, the reason why this is important, I said, do you care about systemic racism? And he said, I never thought about it.
Oh, God. Well, he's fortunate enough to be in the position to not have to think about it. And that's a huge issue.
So what was your response to that?
I said, well, I think that warrants another conversation. If you'd like to have coffee, I'm open to having coffee with you.
Right. And go ahead. I'm sorry.
No. And so that was, and so I had a conversation with him. We had coffee. And so now, it's going in a different direction. But, I have to say, hey, listen, with all due respect, I hear you. But this is what I'm saying. And this is why I believe in what I believe in.
Yeah.
And so he's understanding it slowly. He's getting it.
Yeah. And you know what? It's interesting about that. And I'm glad you answered that honestly. And sometimes your passion has to override some other things. And because some people just need, and they don't mean to be how they are sometimes, they're just completely oblivious. And sometimes you got to shake them a little bit and say, hey, we got to pay attention to this issue. And I love the fact you're so articulate. You're such a professional. You're doing such great things, but you also have to be a CEO. You have to be, and CEOs and leaders, that's why you're in the position you're in, because those are not easy conversations because you don't know how people are going to react, and I think that's great. So another question I have for you. When was the moment where you felt that, oh, all right, I am going to break out. I am going to make the change. Was it a big check you got? Was it a degree you got? Was it somebody that you respect pat you on the back and said, you're doing it? Like, what was the moment where you started to feel you were moving forward?
Yeah, the moment was when I left Houston and moved to Atlanta. And I was going through a very, very, very tough time. It was very challenging. I went through a divorce, and I felt that I'd come to the very end of myself. And when that happened, Damon John has this quote in his book. It reads, when you have nothing to lose, you have everything to gain. And in that, there was something in me that realized that if I don't sacrifice, if I don't take the sacrifice needed to change what's happening, then I was going to stay in it. It was during those times that I realized that I had to do something. I had to solve a problem. And I teach this all the time. When you solve a problem, you don't have to worry about money, because the money will follow you. When you are starting a business, when you are thinking about any type of business, a lot of people think about how much money they can make. I don't think about how much money I can make when I do anything. I think about the magnitude of the problem. And as I have journeyed, I've realized that there are problems that need to be solved, and there are people that hold the solution to a problem within them that needs to be stirred up. And through that, I realized I could not give up, and I was going to have to go through it, and whatever the persecution was. So I want to talk really briefly about persecution, because that's a huge issue for a lot of people.
Right.
They're afraid of persecution. For me, persecution, so before the persecution, there is rejection. You're rejected, and then you're persecuted. Well, I believe that persecution means to me is that the capacity of the person that's persecuting me, they no longer have the capacity to support the direction that I'm going. So they are jealous by the strength and or anointing or whatever it is that I have. And that's how I look at persecution. So when I'm persecuted and or rejected, I think, okay, well, this means the capacity. This person doesn't have the capacity to support my dreams.
Right.
I continue to move forward.
So you don't get emotionally connected to that particular situation.
Well, Doctor, I got chills just listening to you, and I think what you said about capacity is riveting, and what you said about solving a problem. I think that I never put it in perspective for my own career, that I was able to solve problems that a lot of people couldn't with my teams. And I never chased money. To this day, I don't chase money. I just signed a contract this morning that was a lot less than I normally sign for, simply because I love working with the company I'm working with, and it'll work out down the road. They're just great people. And I think that when you're trying to solve problems, the money comes. And I think that young people have to understand that. And people have, like, if you go in, and, you know, a friend of mine, he goes in and he buys sneakers and then he sells them on the internet. And I was like, do you love doing that? He goes, no, but I like the money. I was like, well, you're going to be out of that in about 6 weeks, 6 months, whatever, because that money is going to buy you things that are going to become, they're not going to do anything for you, because you're not stirred up. You're not running to the sneaker store to buy those sneakers to sell them. You just want that money. And when you're chasing that money, it just all dissipates eventually.
Right.
I've seen it. We all have very, very wealthy friends around us that are just not happy, and we have people who have no money and they look like the happiest people in the world. And I think that purpose is a lot more important than money, and just a riveting conversation. Thank you.
So, Doctor, I want to bring it back. Leon Thomas says he didn't hear an answer to Black hotel ownership balance providing opportunities to Black employees, and maybe some of the answer is in what Maritza here says. If you found that other African Americans in this space who could have helped you in a way didn't. I know we hear stories like yours where people are overlooked and bypassed because they were Black, but however, in many instances where a Black person is in a position to help and don't. I know for me, meaning Maritza, in more than one instance, I've had a white person who was more willing to help me more so than a Black person. And I know my experiences are not an anomaly. So how do you see the problem of folks like Robert Johnson not hiring enough Black managers, and answer Leon and what Maritza has experienced? Aren't you glad you came on the show?
That's pretty interesting. So to that point, I will be the first to say that, you know, I was helped by white people. In fact, I just, talked about this yesterday on the at my summit. Mr. Joe Lubick, he is the CEO of American Landmark Apartments. They have over 30,000 apartment complexes, and he actually, helped. He actually helped, scholarships. He actually helped, and so when I, started my companies, my help came from white people. And one of the things I'll say is this, I really don't look at, colors. I look at the heart of people. Okay. I look at the heart because, hey, here's the truth. There are ignorant white people and there are ignorant Black people. And there are ignorant people in other races as well. Ignorant does not have a color, okay? And so for me, honestly, I want more Black people to have a different mindset. I want them to develop a different mindset, and I'd ideally like for them to become more diverse, where they feel comfortable having conversations with other ethnicities, okay, at the end of the day. So what am I saying here? Black employees, white employees, hey, I just want to get the job done. Now, I just had a situation in my company, ThinkZilla, and one of my employees, African American, was coming into the office every day late for 3 weeks late every day. And I sympathized, and, I had several conversations with her. I had several opportunities to mentor and do what I do. And, at some point, you have to make a decision. What's the best outcome for the client? What's the best outcome for the culture of the company? What's the best outcome for results at this point? So as the CEO of the company, I had to terminate this individual. And a week later, my attorney, send over some documents and say, hey, this person, is trying to file a civil suit on you, saying that you are racist and that you have all white people working for your company and you only have 2 Black people working for your company. And I'm thinking, oh my God, as Black as I am, okay, right. First of all, as Black as I am, as Black as I am, I'm racist. Coming from unbelievable. Out of Third Ward, Houston, Texas, as Black as I am, went to HBCUs, as Black as I am, here I am racist. I've never heard of that, okay? But what I am racist against is ignorance. I cannot stand ignorance. I cannot stand people with a victim mindset, with the victim mentality, thinking that the world owes them something. They have a mindset of entitlement. So what I've seen in my experiences, sometimes, African Americans don't want to work. Sometimes they want to use excuses.
Right. Just like any culture.
Just like any culture. Absolutely. And so what am I saying? I just want the job to get done, and I want it done in excellence. I want positive mindsets, and I want mindsets that are focused on innovation and growth. Period.
Wow. So let me, this conversation is not going in the direction I expected, but I'm finding it so incredibly fascinating.
It's better than we expected, my
right? And to me, that's the hallmark of a great show, is us going in a place that we didn't expect to wind up. So let me ask you this, Doctor, because as a white observer of the Black community, I cannot completely understand what you've been going through. But what I've been told is that in a post-slavery world, African Americans have been continually disfranchised, not given the same opportunities in society, which potentially has led to an element where people are more willing to say F it and not put in those efforts. So am I wrong about that? Because you seem to be wanting to hold people to a much higher standard than the messaging to the white community is being given about the same situation. Am I off base with that? I'm trying to learn here.
Yeah. So I definitely agree with the fact that African Americans have not been given equal opportunity. Okay.
Right.
We
That's
have not
plainly evident. And people who don't see that, it's ridiculous.
It's plainly evident. There's, the systemic racism is that's a fact. Okay. But I believe that change is happening. Right. I think that, one of my good friends, Ty Hayes, She was the first African American woman to hold the title of the Chief Technology Officer for the city of Atlanta. Their change is definitely happening. I believe that if you do your research and that if you position yourself for success, you will have an opportunity to sit at the table.
Right.
Okay. Now, when you sit at the table, will you be ready? And so that's what that is what I pride myself on, is being ready.
Right. And what you're doing for others.
The opportunities, when I do sit at the table, I'm going to have my research done. I'm going to have my capability statements and my outcomes. I'm going to know, I'm going to be an expert in what I'm sitting at the table for. And 9 out of 10, I'm probably going to outperform the people that I'm actually sitting with. Because here's the thing, there are a lot of smart people. I'm going to go back to the Bible just a little, because there is a scripture in Proverbs that reads, intelligence with no wisdom is foolish. And so you can be intelligent all day, but if you don't have practical wisdom, and these days you need to think practical. You need to understand what practical means, and you also need wisdom. Wisdom is important.
Yep.
And so a lot of people lack wisdom. They lack wisdom. And so I approach things from a very practical standpoint, using data to understand what the outcome needs to be.
You know what? I love that. And I'm going to go back to what you said before. When, and I hate to say it, but when you had this big project and they say, hey, sit in the back, do the work and we'll get the credit. It reminds me of sitting in back of the bus. It really did. As soon as you said it, and it really made me emotional, because it was like you took that moment and you said, well, I'm going to be over here because I'm going to drive the bus next week. And I'm going to own the bus in 2 weeks. And I think that takes power, and that takes discipline, and that takes intelligence, but a wisdom that is beyond your years and really beyond most people, to say, I don't want to just drive the bus. I want to own the damn fleet. And I think that sometimes you've got to keep yourself straight, have your faith, and know that you're going to get there. And that's why this show, and that's why this conversation is going in a different direction than maybe Glenn thought. This is the show. This is why we're here. You're not here to show how good you are. You're not here to show that you're moving forward and that you're a big CEO with a doctorate degree. You're here, in my opinion, to show the struggle's real. The decisions have to be made for the greater good and the greater outcome. I always say I'm hyper competitive, but I don't care about if I lose. I just care about winning. So that means if I do lose, I can take it, because I put everything on the field. I left everything in the boardroom. I was the most prepared. I got up the earliest. I worked the latest. And if I lose, I'm good with that. But I got up to win. I didn't get up to compete. I didn't get up to come in second. I came in to crush everybody. And if I don't, I know I did my best. And that's what it sounds like what I'm getting from you. It's like if you do get said, hey, you came in second, you're like, okay, give me a minute. Hold my beer. Give me a minute. Here I go. And I think that is so inspirational and so vitally important for our viewers and for young people, old people, to understand the conversation we're having is critical and a lot more important than maybe some of the questions we could have asked that would have went in a different direction. So thank you for being so honest and forthright. Is so refreshing and really inspirational.
Doctor, we're gonna have to wrap up in just 1 second, but I did want to say Leon is talking about providing more promotional opportunities for on-property Black employees. Leon, we've talked about this issue and we will continue to do that in other shows. Please check out our catalog for shows when we've had people like John Lancaster on, when we've had people like Andy Ingram on, who handles NABHood. He's the CEO over there. We focused really highly on how to get more African-American folks into the executive rooms, out of the property level. So we've really spoken about that. We will continue to do so in the future. Doctor?
I think, but Glenn, I think what's important is what you're saying, Doctor, is knowing like you're saying, whether it be black or white, it's like you want high performers. Right. However, when those positions come to you and you have to now trust somebody that maybe is not from your background, that's what it comes down to. It comes down to trust. Like, I'm ready. I want to go forward, but I don't really trust that they got my back. That's a difficult thing to overcome.
It is.
How do you learn? It's like, yeah, they may not have your back, but you got to take the step.
Yeah, that's a great question. So my grandmother taught me this. She said, "You give a person enough rope to hang themselves." And so for me, I will give you an opportunity. And if you mess it up, hey, you mess it up. And, what can I learn from it? I'm a very, discerning person. So I pay attention to everything. I have dealt with so many people to where I know how, different patterns. I understand patterns and how people respond, how people, I pay attention to everything. And so if you pay attention, you can learn a lot from a person. But I will give an opportunity. I have been burned several times, and I've learned a lot from that. But I will give a person enough rope to hang themselves.
And I like what you said before. Is I always say I can't be taken advantage of when I know I'm being taken advantage of. Right. So sometimes you put yourself in a position because there may be a greater opportunity to win, but I may be taken advantage of. And you know what? I have been taken advantage of. And I'm like, I've had people say to me, it's like, dude, you're being played. I was like, I know exactly I'm being played, but who's playing who? Right? It's like, who's playing who? Because the second when they're not paying attention, I'm in control. I'm playing them.
5D chess. Yeah.
So,
that's right.
I think that is good. You cannot be taken advantage of if you know you're being taken advantage of.
That's it.
But you got to know. But you got to be aware and wisdom. And I'll tell you, I learned more in this session than I think I've learned in school of 18 years. So I can't wait to meet you in person, and I can't wait to have a cup of coffee and really learn from you. So thank you so much for being on here, and thank you. Again, so many people hold back, and thank you for being straight and being the leader that you are.
Yes, be sure to check out usdiversitygroup.com. That's usdiversitygroup.com. And I don't know if everybody out there knows this, but you can participate. You can help people get to hotel ownership by buying into shares for as low as $500 a piece. Wow, that's absolutely crazy. So I think that's absolutely wonderful, Doctor.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Thank you.
This has been absolutely terrific. Thanks. We're going to get you back on. We're going to pair you with somebody else. You are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think the doctor should take Chris's position on Tuesdays.
Uh-oh. Watch out.
You notice I give up his position so easily. I give it to Kimberly. I give it to the doctor.
I know. It's a good thing Chris isn't here to be insulted like he is. So deep breath. What a great show. I think I learned a lot today, and I feel so blessed to be in a position to be this conduit to provide great information for people, Anthony.
And I also, some questions that came in, and I want to say this, because at the end of it, I realized this may not be an education for the minority community. This is more an education for guys like us, for people that. So some of the questions were coming in. It's like, yeah, that's fine, but listen, I want to move to employment of African Americans in the hotels. I get that. I get that. I get that a lot. However, there needs to be an education, and we need people in her position to really say, hey, this is about movement. This is about discipline. This isn't about inspiration. This is about perspiration. And there's going to be black people, white people are going to help you. And you got to figure out who's going to help you, who's not going to help you, and move on. And if you're waiting for everybody to line up with the same color of skin you have to help you, you may not be successful. So whoever helps you, take the help so you can help the greater good of your background and people that look like you. I won't use the celebrity's name, but I know a celebrity or through friends that is African American, and all my friends that he's helping are African American. Mm-hmm. And somebody says, that's not right. It's like, you know what? Why is it not right?
Right. Too freaking bad.
I've gotten a lot of people jobs, and I'd say the majority of people I got jobs were white. Well, because those are the people that are in my friend group.
Right.
But when I have opportunities, I've helped my African American friends. I've helped them too. But the majority of my friends are white. So why is it wrong for somebody that is around their people of their background to help them when they're in a position of power? So this show sometimes goes way off the rails and really talks about this stuff. And I would imagine we've gained some fans. And I imagine we've somebody's calling me. We've lost some fans, and I don't give a rat's ass. Yeah, but it's always so. This hotel that you're in right now, that you're not actually in, that would be the hotel that I turned around in Baltimore, because it looks just like it.
We got to find that out. All will be revealed tomorrow. Oh, Michael Harrell, may he rest in peace. What an incredible gentleman he was. I can't believe you got to work with him. Awesome.
Who is that? I don't know who that is.
Michael Harrell. He's the CEO of a hotel company, management ownership group. Yeah, he was very, very, very generous, kind, wonderful human being. All right. So let's end this show today. Forget all of the normal pitches. Just remember, and I think today is an absolute lesson in this. You've got one life, so blaze on and
be kind to yourself and others.
All right, we'll see you all tomorrow.